am Dru Hammer, and welcome to Hammered. As you can see, I wrote a book, and it's called Hammered. Let me just get that. So this is about my journey and my life and how God so sovereignly saved me. And when my heart was hammered, he was there to pick me up. And when I needed more, he carried me. So I wanted to bring Caroline Barnett from the Los Angeles Dream Center with me today, because that's all they do is deal with people with hammered hearts. And what I love is it's a faith-based facility. And they minister to people, but they say they restore lives. They don't rehabilitate, they restore lives. And in the meantime, people get rehabilitated, but they give them an opportunity to let God come into their heart and change their hearts. And when a problem is bigger than they are, that's when they can bring God in and he will help the people through. And I had the privilege of, first of all, being friends with Caroline for probably 20 years now.
Yeah, over 20.
Is that about right? Over 20?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. You're right. It's probably 25.
Yeah, because Caden's 20 and it was before that. So.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Well, time flies when you're having fun.
Yes.
And I actually volunteered at the Dream Center, and I got so immersed, and that place changed my life, which we will get to in these episodes. But Caroline, I would love to hear your side, how you got into it, how old you were when you started. I know you started the food ministry, and now what the food ministry is today. So give us a run through.
Okay, so I was raised in a Christian home. We were immigrants from Sweden. My parents had Sweden, yeah.
Sweden.
So my parents had the American dream, and it ended up being a lot harder than they expected. They started out in Beverly Hills, and it wasn't long before we were in Hawthorne. And I remember sitting in swap meets with my dad. He had invested all of his money into the inventory, which was Scandinavian handicrafts. So beautiful crystal chandeliers and crystal objects and beautiful rugs. And so I remember sitting in swap meets all throughout Orange County and all the way down to San Diego, just trying to sell off some of his merchandise to survive here in America. But my parents loved the freedom that America offered. And so
what kind of freedom did they not have in Sweden? Because I think so many people take America for granted and the freedom that we have here. And I'm like, well, you want to go to one of those other countries, then go try it out. And I guarantee you'll want to come back.
So true. So, Sweden is socialistic.
Right.
And so my dad was being taxed 85% of his income.
Wow.
And my parents were taxed even more because my mom wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And
they would tax you more for that reason?
Because they wanted the government raising the kids. They wanted their kids. So,
wow. Now, see, why isn't that advertised? Why does Americans not know that and appreciate what we have here?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my dad felt always limited. Like the harder you worked, the more you stayed the same. And there was a cap on your life. And so, and he always loved America since he was a little boy. So he just had this big American dream. It's a big move and
huge.
Now I imagine trying to.
And how many children did they move with?
They only had 2 at that point.
Okay.
So they had myself and my older sister in Sweden.
Okay.
And then there's a 7-year gap between me and the next one. So there's 4 girls total. So we came here. It ended up being a struggle, but they loved it. And after that business went south, then my dad started a Yamaha scooter store. So that was his form of income. And but even with all of the struggles, I saw a very strong faith in my parents. And we spent so much time in the church. He volunteered as much as he could, and he'd wear any hat that was needed. If they needed a guitar player, he's playing the guitar. If they needed a children's pastor, he was in the children's ministry.
Wow.
And then my mom, again.
Just a servant's heart.
Yeah. And so I spent a lot of time playing in the church, playing on the pews, and while my parents were working or volunteering. And so I had this understanding of God as being a good and safe place. And even though we were going through struggles, it was what kept my parents moving forward.
Right, right.
I really appreciated seeing their personal relationship with God. So now fast forward, my junior and senior year of high school, I started a party. I had 1 foot in the world and 1 foot in the church.
I tried that.
Yep.
Doesn't turn out so well.
Right.
Surely didn't for me, by the way.
Yeah. And so I was still in church, and every Sunday I felt so guilty. And every Sunday, oh God, please forgive me. I'll never do it again.
Oh, yes.
And then by the time Friday came around, the party sounded even better than the week before. And so I was right back out there. And because my parents didn't understand the culture, they didn't know cheerleaders don't have sleepovers every single weekend. So I got away with a lot. My poor younger sisters didn't get away with anything because I knew better. But so yeah, that was kind of this back and forth. And it was towards the end of my senior year of high school, where I was at one of these parties and I'm looking around. I thought, okay, this is getting old. There has to be more to life than this.
Well, and thank God you learned it at such a young age.
Yes, I'm extremely thankful
people
for that.
You know, in their 40s still haven't learned it. And they're just trying bigger and better things to try to fill a void.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very thankful that God opened my eyes so young.
And he had a calling on your life.
Right. And so at that point, I started reading the Bible, not because I was raised to read the Bible, but I was really seeking answers.
Wow.
And as I started considering what would I do with my life, everything seemed empty. And so then as I read the words of Jesus, I thought, I want to do what Jesus is doing. I want to go out there and reach out to those who feel they've gone too far to be loved by God. I want to reach out to those who are hungry and just make a difference, not in the typical four walls of a church, but out on the streets.
Right.
And so I had all of this passion and no outlet for it. And about this time, we had some pastors from Norway staying with us, and they had heard of a new place in LA called the Dream Center. So my dad took these pastors to the Dream Center, and my dad came home because he knew what I was looking for.
Right.
He said, Caroline, I found the place for you. And so I went and visited the Dream Center. And the moment I stepped on the campus, I knew it. This is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
Now, tell everyone where the Dream Center is, because I'm sure a zillion people have passed it on the 101. And when I've told people, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I've passed that a million times.
Yeah. So the Dream Center is housed in the former Queen of Angels Hospital, right there on the Hollywood freeway between downtown LA and Hollywood. And we are called the Dream Center because it's actually the guys who've gone through our program who renamed us. We were initially called the LA International Church. But as the guys were going through our program, they said, you should call this place the Dream Center because I'm dreaming again.
Wow. And make dreams come true.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, when you're in survival mode, or you're in that place of brokenness, you can't even fathom to dream. You know, all you want to do is have a bed and food to eat.
Well, and I think you've said before that a lot of people thought you were like a center for sleep.
Yeah, right. A sleep deprivation center.
Yes, that's
exactly.
so funny.
But yeah, so that's how we got our name, the Dream Center. And, but yeah, the moment I stepped on campus, I thought, this is it. This is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And
the rest of your life, you knew that.
Yep. And so
that's the Lord.
The Dream Center has been around now since 1994. So it's 32 years old. And I came in 1996, right out of high school. And Matthew, my husband, he started the Dream Center when he was just 20 years of age.
So you married the founder.
Yes.
And by the way, we were on the board for years.
Yes.
And I remember so well when the Dream Center, when it was City of Angels Hospital.
Yeah.
And tell that story, how they even got that hospital, because that's a miracle within itself.
Right. It's huge. So it was right after the Rodney King riots that my father-in-law, Tommy Barnett, was approached by the Assemblies of God. And they said, LA is in desperate need of a church like yours. So he had a huge mega church in Phoenix. And his church, even though it was a mega church, it had a huge heart. And they were very much into outreach, going into the areas of the city that were most in need and bringing in the lost, and then just helping people with basic necessities. And so they said, would you please consider starting a church like yours in LA? And my father-in-law thought, well, I can't leave what I've built here, but I'll help launch a church. And he went one by one to the 10 most famous evangelist friends that he had and said, would you like to start a church with me in LA? And all of them thought, big eyes, oh, cool, start a church in
Hollywood, LA, glamour.
With Tommy Barnett, so cool. But as soon as they went to the area, and again, this is in Echo Park, and that area was devastated after the Rodney King riot.
Oh, and it was so, I mean, it was filthy, graffiti everywhere. The crime was rampant.
Yes, it had the highest homicide rate in all of America at that time.
All of America?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's a very dangerous place. And so as soon as these evangelist friends saw the place, they said, no, thank you. And so Matthew was only 20. He was in seminary.
20 years old, a kid.
Yes. Skinny little white kid.
Going into basically the ghettos of Los Angeles.
And he was raised amongst all these resorts and golf courses. And he's being dropped off.
Doesn't God have such a sense of humor?
Yep. Downtown LA. And so Yeah, he was only meant to come for 3 to 6 months until Tommy can find a permanent replacement. And the first day Matthew took over the church,
I love this story. I mean, it's such a sad story, but this was the beginning to me.
So on that first day, a young boy was shot and killed. A 15-year-old was shot and killed on the steps of the church. And he felt like it was the devil saying, "Are you ready for this?"
Wow.
Trying to scare him away. And Matthew did what only he knew to do. And he asked the few church members if they would come and put an offering together to help the mother. And so Matthew took that offering, went across the street.
So the mother lived right across the street.
Yeah, she lived in an apartment that was attached to a liquor store.
Wow.
And when Matthew walked in, the mother was surrounded by a group of gangsters who were trying to console her. And she was angry with them, hitting them, saying, "This is your fault that my son has been killed."
Wow.
And so Matthew, he wasn't trained up in this kind of ministry, urban ministry. And he just walked in and said, "I'm so sorry. I'm the new pastor across the street. We have a little bit of money for you. We're here for you." And Matthew said instantly he had the best bodyguards on the whole block.
All those gang members.
Yes,
and they all ended up coming to the church.
Yes.
And they all got radically saved.
Yep.
Wow.
And that
what
was
a story.
First outreaches was that he went to Kmart, bought a bunch of free weights, and was just working out with the gangsters in the parking lot. And in their mindset, they were getting ready for jail. They wanted to be strong for when they went to jail. And so for Matthew to be able to be there and be a light, make a difference. Yeah.
Wow.
So then fast forward, Matthew saw the needs of that area, and he thought more than a typical church was needed, because he saw the homelessness, he saw the drug addiction, and he was busing in the homeless. And when they got radically saved, it broke his heart to have to put him back on the streets, because they could tell they wanted to change.
Right.
So they had rented up some of the apartments and homes around that church, and they were jam-packed with people. And when he saw that people's lives were truly being transformed, he was driving along the Hollywood freeway, and he saw a big for sale sign on the Queen of Angels Hospital.
And that building is enormous. How many square feet do you have there?
450,000 square feet. We have 9 buildings on the property. And a big for sale sign. And instantly Matthew had a vision that each floor would be used to help somebody who's hurting.
Wow.
And so he called his dad. He said, "Dad, I don't want a typical church. I want a dream center." And he said, "Well, son, let's go talk to the nuns, see what they say." So the property was on the market for $25 million. They had an offer for
$25 million.
This is back in 94. 25 million. And they had an offer from one of the studios for 18 million.
18. Okay. Wow.
They were intending to turn it into a movie set. Actually, a lot of movies were filmed at the Queen of Angels.
Oh, really?
Like Friday the 13th. And a lot of horror films.
I did not know
Some vampire movies. Yep.
Well, that would have been a perfect place, because wasn't it just rat infested, and
it had sat
homeless
empty for 10
people
years.
were living there.
Yes.
Gang members were living in the facility.
A place for squatters and for gang activity. Yeah. And there's just
God had a different plan.
And so anyway, so then Matthew shared his vision to the nuns of how he would use the building. And of course, that was in line with their hearts.
Sure.
And they said, "Well, make us an offer." So then at this point, my father-in-law thinks, "I'm going to offer so low." They say no, but at least it looks like I tried for my son. So again, it's on the market for $25 million. He offers 3.9. And to his amazement, they said yes. But the caveat,
when they had an offer for 18 million.
Yes, exactly.
Now that is nothing but a miracle from God.
Absolutely.
I mean, who would ever do that?
Right.
It's just incredible to me.
Yeah. God still does, when we read the Bible and we read these incredible miracles, for me, the Dream Center is as amazing and incredible.
He still parts the Red Sea.
Yes.
That's what I always say.
Yep.
God still parts the Red Sea.
And we had to have our property evaluated for insurance purposes, and it's now valued over $200 million.
Oh, hallelujah.
Never in a million years could we have bought right, exactly.
Wow. God is astounding.
Yeah.
I mean, it just amazes me. $200 million, but you would never sell it because it's God's property.
And unfortunately, this also meant our insurance company dropped us.
Oh, shoot.
So now we have 6 carriers instead of 1.
Oh, darn.
Right. But yeah, and we've put in about 50 million to bring it up to where it's at now. We still
And
have
by
a
the
little
way,
bit more.
just being able to raise $50 million, because I remember when we were on the board, it was $1 million a floor because there was asbestos everywhere, and to bring it up to code and to get it livable.
Right.
And to think that you were able to raise $50 million, literally in an area where it's not Beverly Hills.
Right.
And you don't get a lot of Beverly Hills people driving to church. We did, but
Yeah.
so the thought of the area that you're in and the people that attend, and you were able to raise that money is nothing short of the loaves and fishes.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, operations is 1 million a month. So the 1 million a month to operate, plus then an additional 50 million to bring it up to where it's at now.
And how many people do you have living there now?
We have 750 beds available.
Wow.
I think once we finish, there's one more building that we need to bring up to code. I think we can almost double our numbers once we finish.
Really? Which building is that?
It's the 6th level building. We currently call it the Mike Rogers building.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Wow.
Yeah.
750,000 plus you have because you're able, and $1 million a year is feeding people, and I mean a month, excuse me. But say what I would love for you to tell people what all you do in that program. Like there's a floor for alcoholism and a floor for drug addiction and human trafficking when nobody has beds for human trafficking. So tell us everything that you do there, because it's astounding to me.
So the way the Dream Center does what it does is through its residential programs, its outreach programs, and resource programs. And so within our residential programs, we have 250 beds for our first year recovery program. And this would be any kind of life controlling issues, substance abuse issue. Some come in for depression or suicidal attempts.
Wow.
We also have a jail outreach that invites men to come.
That.
And some of them have a shorter sentence because they live out their sentence at the Dream Center.
At the Dream Center.
Yeah,
so not only are they just sitting in prison, not getting restored, but they're coming to the Dream Center and they're learning to serve the Lord and that God is here to help them. So their lives are changed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then some are coming from prostitution. And so that would be in our first year recovery. And Dr. Ben Carson has been on tour of the Dream Center 2 times. And he flipped out because all of our programs are at least a year long. And he said, just for your brain to physically heal from drug abuse, you need at least a year. So
many people have said 30-day rehabs do not work because isn't it like 3 months before your mind even patterns start even changing in your mind? And I love that you do a 1-year program, which is, Tyler and Jackie, which we'll get to, his life was totally restored at the Dream Center. And that's why I wanted to have you too, to really explain more what you do. But, the thing is it's a year. And he said, apparently I needed boundaries. I didn't know I needed boundaries. I said, everybody needs boundaries, but it is extremely strict and you have to hold them accountable. And I remember when I first started working with the women there, I mean, they would have to check off to brush their teeth and to shower. And they had daily biblical, times when they needed to read the Bible and, they had to clean and they had to have their beds clean, made and all this because they need to learn that. Because when you're living on the streets, you're not taught. There's no boundaries. There's no rules. You're not cleaning up after yourself. You're not taking care of yourself, the
program is very structured and they're up early. They have
Tell us studies. A typical day in the Dream Center.
So they start out with prayer and then obviously breakfast. And then depending on their schedule, they'll either start with classes and or work, and then it flips. In the afternoon, then they either do the classes or work. And
when you say classes,
so we offer if they need their GED.
See, that to me, because you were telling me that some women come in, and I'm sure men too, that are on a 3rd grade reading level.
It's not uncommon.
So to bring them up through high school and you offer that in the program is amazing.
And for so many of them, they think that is the biggest mountain to climb to earn their GED.
Well, honey, that'd be my biggest mountain to climb. I can't remember any of that stuff.
Right, exactly. So, and it's interesting. Our teachers say more than actually teaching math and science, they're just encouraging them that they can learn because so many of them told they were incapable and they're actually very smart. And
Well, and abused children, you're not worth anything. You'll never amount to anything.
Right.
People have no idea how that just affects your psyche and just ruins your self, what am I trying to say? Your self-esteem, I guess, or worth. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, with every story that I've heard at the Dream Center, not one time have I not thought, okay, no wonder you chose to numb out. No wonder you ended up on the streets. There's always a backstory, and each story is so individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I still cry to this day. I've been there for 30 years. I still cry to this day when I hear their backstory.
Oh, it's just, may I tell you a story that I will never forget? I just started volunteering there, and I started out just having birthday parties. And women would come up to me, and I would get them all a birthday gift, and I was a squishy blanket, to put on their bed. And I'll never forget. Well, first of all, I had so many women come up to me sobbing when I would throw these pizza parties and birthday parties. And they would say, this is the first time anyone's ever celebrated my birthday. Yeah. I mean, we can't even fathom that, having amazing parents and the birthday cakes and the parties and how much we take for granted. And no one has ever celebrated their birthday. But one of the young women, she was this beautiful blonde, and she was abused by her father. Her father would abuse her in the bathtub since she was extremely young. And finally, she ran away from home at like 14. Well, what does a 14-year-old do when you run away from home? They can't get a job. Right. What do you do? So she started doing exotic dancing. She was beautiful. And the owner of that place started, taking advantage of her, moved her into his house, but really kept her as a sex slave. Right. And she tried to get away, and he would beat her up. Finally, she ran out in the middle of the night. He found out, got in his truck, ran her over with his truck. And after he ran her over, he took his pocket knife out and put a swastika, how do you pronounce that, on her forehead. Yeah. So she comes to me and tells me this story, and well, I'm a disaster at that point because you and I can't even fathom. But yet she found the Lord, and she was able to forgive, and forgiveness is such a huge part of that because you're freeing yourself. Yes. And she was like in a coma in the hospital for 6 months. And here's what I loved. Once I started doing it for years, I could tell who just got there because a lot of them have such shame. Yeah. And they can't even look at you in the eyes. And then as I would continue going, I would see this lightness come to them and this joy and love. And they felt loved, and they were friends with all the women in the program, and they were encouraging each other. Yeah. And, it was so beautiful to watch the transformation. And when she graduated, she got up on stage, and that was one of my favorite Sundays, is when they give their testimony. Yeah. I mean, I'm just a disaster. I always had to wear, waterproof mascara on those days. And you would think that she's had the happiest life her entire life. Exactly. And that's what the Dream Center does. Yeah. And that's what I love so much, is people's lives are being changed. Absolutely. And that was the passion that you have. So tell me what you did with the food ministry. Yeah. And I would just want to brag. Please. The way you loved on those women every single month, and then every time you were around them and just poured your heart and soul into them. I loved them. That meant the world to them. Well, and actually there's a whole chapter in my book where I talk about it. And what I say is when I went to work at the Dream Center, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to go help them. Yeah. I'm going to minister to them. And, my Army made a funny joke one time. He goes, "Mom, you finally found a group of women who will listen to you." I love listening to you. So I go all over Beverly Hills telling people about Jesus, and they're like, "Oh, whatever, yada, yada, yada." And I would go and I'd minister to them. We'd all pray together. And when I went through my divorce after a 25-year marriage, I was so heartbroken, and I weighed 80 pounds. And that's why I had to go more blonde, because the whole top of my head went white from stress. And God said to me, keep showing up. They're depending on you.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on in your life, whatever they've been through is much worse. Keep showing up. So I would go, and I'm telling you, roles reversed, and they were ministering to me.
Yeah.
And I would show up for our little luncheon, and they would go, how are you doing? How was your court date? We were praying for you. And I'm like, are you kidding me, God?
Yeah.
As I drive home to Beverly Hills to my home, and these women are praying for me. So that's what I love about ministry is we think we're going to go out and give so much, but really what happens is our life has changed.
So true.
I love that.
And I so admired the way you walked through that season. And even when your doctor,
you didn't see me behind closed doors.
I did.
It's a
I saw
disaster.
it, but no, you handled that so well considering. And
I was really
love the fact that when your doctor offered you just some medication just to help you cope, and you said, no, I want to feel it so I can get through it.
Well, there's another side.
Okay.
If we're going to really be honest here, let's be honest. So I go for my normal checkup, and I had dropped 20 some odd pounds.
So skinny.
And I was gray. And you know, you always think you can't be too rich or too thin. Well, trust me.
Yeah.
I was so unattractive. I looked like a drowned rat, and my skin was gray, and I was skin and bones, and my hair was falling out, and it was all white. And my doctor said, well, you know, what's going on in your life? I mean, obviously you're going through some major trauma. And I told him I was going through a divorce. And he said, well, let me give you some antidepressants. Okay. And I think just for this period of time so you can get through it. And you know me, I think I was a little pious, to be perfectly honest. I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I have to feel the pain. I have to grind through this, and I have to get through it. And my heart needs to be healed, but I can't numb the pain. I have to feel it. Well, then I'd go home and drink wine at night.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same
not
thing.
exactly the same.
Well, kind of. I don't know. I'm in this big house in Beverly Hills, and I'm miserable, and I'm lonely, and I would drink a glass of wine, and then pretty soon I was having two, and there's no difference at that point. So I had to get my act together too.
No, well, you still handled it very well.
Well, I sure tried. But again, I couldn't have done it without the Lord. There's no way. There is no way I could have done it without the Lord.
Yeah. Now look at you now.
Well, praise God. He restores, doesn't he?
I've seen the
really
transformation
does.
in you.
Thank you.
Years, and I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now I just want to make a difference for Jesus. That's all I really care about. And, you know, iron sharpens iron. That's why we choose our friends that have the same goals, and we love Jesus. We want to make a difference in this world, because I thought if I had to live that life where you just go do lunch or do the, you know, charity circuit, that's all great.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get on the Chanel dress and play that whole game. I want to get down and dirty and make a difference in people's lives.
And I've been with you so many times. No matter where we go, you're making a difference.
I hope so.
Your faith has always, I've leaned on your faith many times as well.
Praise the Lord.
You've always challenged me to believe for God, to do bigger things.
Yeah.
And so
Amen.
Thank you. You have sharpened me. I appreciate that.
Thank you. You sharpened me too.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to hear about your food ministry, because that is just, and you started off in an old beat up Volvo station wagon, so you can take it from there.
Yeah. Well, okay, let me just really quick go back. So
please,
we did talk about discipleship, which is our first year recovery. Then we have a second year.
Yes, which I love.
Yeah.
And explain how you do that.
So in the second year, it's not as strict, and they still live at the Dream Center.
Giving them a little bit of freedom.
More freedom. And then they work in one of the departments at the Dream Center. So they give back. So the first,
I love that.
And again, all of our programs are free. And you think about it.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. For us to house someone and put them through our program is $7,500 a year.
Wow.
You know, most recovery programs are $30,000 a month. So what we're able to do is truly miraculous. But so in the second year, they have a little more freedom, but they work in one of our departments. And then we have a transitions program, which is the third year. And that's where they still live with us, but they work on the outside. They save $10,000, and then they're launched off into their new life.
Now, when you say they save $10,000, you mean just from not having to get a place to live? Is that what you mean?
Well, that, and they're working on the outside, so they're earning money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
And then,
Which is such wisdom.
right.
Because again, 30 days, you're just put back on the streets, nothing's changed.
Right.
And what I love is the second year, they have more freedom to make their own choices. Because the first year,
It's very
this is
strict.
what you do, the schedule, and they need that structure. They need those boundaries. And then the second year, they get a little bit more freedom. Can they handle that? And then by the third year, they're still in their safe cocoon,
Right.
surrounded with the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And then doesn't third year start mentoring the first year and second?
Oh, from almost like 4 months into the first year program, they're mentoring. It's always
Love that.
leveling up. Everyone's helping the next person.
And you have to earn it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Love that.
And so they're learning leadership skills, but they're also learning, we have life skills courses on how to manage money, anger
Oh,
management.
you all do everything. You
Yeah.
even have money, classes to teach them. A lot of them don't even know how to rectify a checkbook.
Right.
I mean, does anybody write a check anymore? I don't know, but
Yeah.
if they did, they're learning it.
Balancing
But I mean, a lot of them never even learned how to handle money,
Right.
and how to do a budget,
Right.
and handle how much you have for groceries a month. And so this is all life skills.
Yeah, and so that's our goal is to be a solution, not just a Band-Aid.
Yes.
We're hoping
I
that
love
they're not-
that.
they get off this crazy train or
Yes.
roller coaster. And so that's for our recovery program. And then we have a home for homeless families.
Oh, I love, and how you started that
Yeah.
is families literally showed up.
The police dropped families off. saying, "Can you
Police would
do
drop them
something?"
off, and a whole family would be living in their car.
Yeah. Or on the street.
I mean, what you're doing,
and that's a
Caroline,
program
it's
that we can
just,
multiply by 30 and not keep up with the demand. There are so
I
many
can't
homeless
even
families.
imagine.
And again, we're not a shelter, we're a program. So they have to qualify, and we have this wait list
Mm-hmm.
because we're pushing them forward. And when in the family program, it's very it's tailored for their specific needs. So
Right.
if a mom comes in and she's at a first grade level, obviously we start with reading classes.
Right.
But if it's a mom who has a job skill, or she was a hairdresser, or she has some kind of way of earning money, she may only need 3 months of living at the Dream Center. Whereas this mom at a first grade level might need 2-3 years to get her GED and then
Right.
have a life skill.
And don't they say that, a lot of America, they're one paycheck away from being homeless.
goodness.
One paycheck.
Yeah. And how anyone survived COVID and all
Oh.
the other setbacks. I
Well,
honestly-
that's a whole other story.
right.
Yeah. That's wow. Anyways,
So then we also have a home for homeless male and female veterans.
I
then we-
love that.
Yeah.
They've served our country. We are free today because of these people.
Exactly.
God bless America.
Right.
Yes.
And then we also have a home for kids who have aged out of the foster care system.
Oh, now that was your idea.
Yeah.
God put that on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I was astounded to find out, for some reason, the word astounding keeps coming to me because everything you do, it just blows me away.
Mm-hmm.
But God started putting that on your heart because you told me one time years ago, you said, Dru, if they don't have a bed for each child, or if they don't have a refrigerator that's working, they will actually take the child away
Yep.
and put them in a foster care system. And I promise you, any child in the world would rather sleep on the floor
Oh, absolutely.
and be with their parents than being sent into a strange home and then sent from home to home.
Yeah.
So tell us how you fit those needs.
Yeah. So we saw this thread that so many of the people who went through our other programs had spent time in foster care. So we started diving into the issues. And exactly like you said, more than 50% of kids in the foster care system have parents who love them,
More than 50%.
but lost them due to basic necessities.
Oh
Now,
my gosh.
I ignorantly assumed every child in foster care was there because of abuse or neglect.
Well, I did too until
Right?
you told me that.
Yeah. I had no idea a parent could be doing their personal best and lose their child, especially here in
Oh.
America where we have plenty, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so we contacted our local DCFS office and said, as an organization, we can help with basic necessities, food, clothing, baby items, furniture, parenting classes, GED courses, counseling. If you come across families with open cases at risk of losing their kids due to these things, call us. We'd love to help. And at first they were a little leery of us, weren't sure if we'd do what we promised. But as soon as we showed ourselves faithful, they started sending us contacts. Families with open cases at risk of losing their kids. And I always joke
wow.
because the list looked very different for each family. Some families have a long list of what they need in order to stay together, and some
Right.
are very short. But say we don't have the item that the family needs. Like you said, if once there's an open case, every child has to have a bed or else they're removed from the home. And often when we don't have exactly what they need, we run to IKEA and buy it for them.
Wow.
And not only do we buy it for them, but we assemble it.
Oh, that's the worst part.
Yeah, that's the best gift that we
I
can
will
give them.
never. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That is a nightmare to me, having to assemble furniture like
Right?
that. Well, and I've seen you do it. You literally get moving vans and
Yeah.
you show up at these families' houses
Yeah.
and you set up beds or you provide a stove that works or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And to see the look on these families, can you imagine if someone did that for us
Right.
and they saved us from losing our children?
Right?
And
Could you
by
imagine,
the
like,
way,
put yourself in that situation?
that's
Like, one of my
Jesus.
favorite stories was our truck had pulled up to provide what this mother needed. It was a mom with 4 kids. And as soon as our truck pulled up, the mom came screaming, running out of her apartment, running to our truck, trying to keep the doors shut because she thought we were there to take her children.
Oh,
But we're actually there to help. We were the answer from
my
God.
gosh, that breaks my heart.
But can you imagine being this
No.
mom? You love your children.
No.
You know what's
No.
coming. And even at your best, you haven't been able to provide it. Like the
And she's
fears
trying her
and
best.
the fear of what's going to happen to your children. Will they be okay? Will they know how much they're loved and how much you've tried? And will they
Not be able
safe?
to tuck them in bed at night
Right.
and love on them. And
Yeah.
oh,
And so to be able to stop that and prevent families from losing their kids has been huge. But then also with our foster youth home, these are for kids who age out of the foster care system. If you look at the statistics, like 98% of them end up homeless, in jail, on drugs.
first
in
of all, they're
human trafficking.
17 years old. And I've heard they leave with a garbage bag of, a lawn bag of their few items of clothes.
Yep.
Well, who in the world at 17 could go out and support themselves? You have to have last month security deposit to get an apartment.
Yep.
What do we expect them to do? And they just age them out.
Right. And not considering, like, one of the first families that we brought into the family program, the mom, she tested at a first grade level, but you heard her backstory. She was molested by her father until she was 8, at which point she was put in the foster care system
I
within
just
over
can't stand it.
30 homes before she was emancipated at 18, and they expected to thrive. So beyond the abuse and the neglect, no one paid attention that she had the education she needed or the life skills that she needed. So these people are survivors, truly survivors.
Oh, I'm telling you, they're my heroes.
Yeah.
And they say the minute you're abused, that's when you shut down. You emotionally,
Yep.
your brain shuts down. That's your self-preservation, your mechanism. You just shut down. So are we surprised? And
Right.
when Tyler and Jax were on, I said to them, well, nobody as a child says, when I grow up, I want to be a prostitute. I want to be an exotic dancer. I want to be an alcoholic. No, there is a reason for this.
Right.
It's broken lives.
Yep.
And that's what you're doing at the Dream Center. You're restoring broken lives. I mean, how many people do you think out of all the years have come through your program? Do you have a statistic on that?
How many total?
Uh-huh.
Shoot, I should know that. I don't.
I mean, I would think it'd be hundreds of thousands.
Oh, for sure. Well, through all of the outreaches and residential.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to be ready for that next
Good.
time. Yeah.
Good, because you're coming again. We're
Okay.
going to talk about it because what you do, we can't ever get it all in. It's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
So the food, what you did, how you started that,
Yeah.
and what you do today now.
Yeah. And so we always had a food bank at the Dream Center, but people
Right.
had to come to us in order to receive. And so I was working in the reception office as a missionary volunteer back when I was 17. And I received a phone call from a social worker who said there was a family in need of food not too far away. So I loaded up my station wagon, my Volvo station wagon, and I loaded up with food and I drove it over to this apartment. It was maybe just a mile from the Dream Center.
Right?
It was a dilapidated apartment in a very scary part of town. And as soon as we walked in with the groceries, the kids jumped in our arms and started eating raw zucchini. And I thought,
Raw zucchini.
how hungry are these kids?
They're
willing to eat
starving.
raw zucchini. Like, I could put butter and cheese and roast it to perfection, and my kids are like, zucchini, So
Right.
being face to face with a hungry child, being in the home
I can't stand it.
of a hungry child, and they only had some couch cushions on the floor that they used as beds. And
Right.
most of the kids were only in their underwear, diapers. And
If they had diapers.
yeah,
Right.
just
So tell me
smelling
what
the
you're.
smells, hearing the cries. When I was in that space, that's when I was triggered. and realize I have to do something about it. I can't know people are living like this and not do something
Right.
about it. And then that's when you're working from passion.
Right. So in closing,
Yeah.
tell me what your food program does today, how many people you feed, and what you did during COVID.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. So we have so many different ways that we feed at the Dream Center. We have many, many programs. So we do 3 hot meals every single day that it's open, not
3
just to
hot meals.
not just for our residents, but anyone can come and eat. So the homeless come to eat, the families
Right.
come to eat from the neighborhood. Then we take grocery type foods out to the most at-risk neighborhoods all throughout Los Angeles.
Wow.
And then we take prepared food to the homeless districts like Skid Row and any spots where the homeless are encamped.
Prepared food.
Prepared food. And then we bring snacks to a Union train station, because at midnight, the homeless are forced off the trains, and we have a team there ready to provide them with snacks and toiletries. And
I've been to church when a man said,
yeah,
they picked me up from the Dream Center. I was riding on the train as a homeless person, and now he's this productive, amazing man,
Great.
rejoicing in the Lord.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's the beautiful thing about all of our outreaches is that we have long-term solutions.
Yes.
So you're not just going out there meeting their current need, which is huge.
Right.
Loving them, praying for them.
You're
right
preparing them for life.
Yeah. And for anyone to say that there's a quick fix for the homeless, there's some people who we visited in the same tent for 3 years straight before they were willing to come and give us a chance.
Well, it's scary because it's a lot of work. They can, it is.
Yeah.
It isn't all bad sometimes being homeless. I mean, I know it's a terrible plight in life, but sometimes to have to go to the Dream Center and have that rigid schedule and all these demands probably seems totally overwhelming to them.
So they have to be ready. You have to build trust, and you have to build a belief in themselves that they can change and that it's worth it. And so, yeah.
Well, I want you to come back because we are just getting started. And also, you speak all over the country, and it's amazing what you share. So if there's any organizations or churches that would like to reach out to you, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can just reach us through our website. We have a link that you can click and email Aaron Beffert to book either Matthew or I to come and speak, and we'd be happy to come
at the Los Angeles Dream Center. What is your actual website?
Dreamcenter.org.
Dreamcenter.org. Okay. Well, we still have tons to talk about, but what I would like to end on is Tyler Ramsey, who was on here before. The one thing he said is, I tried other rehabilitation centers and rehabs. And he said, because the Dream Center focused on God and they led me to Jesus, that's what stuck. And today, because of the Dream Center, I am 5 years sober.
Yeah.
So that's just one.
How could you change without God?
That's just one.
How?
Well,
I don't even.
If we could, we would.
Right.
That's the bottom line. If we could, we
People would try anything but God. But honestly, how could you without him? Without his healing power, without him, without knowing that how much he loves you and he's for you, and to know that, again, I've seen the most broken lives be healed and restored.
Yes.
To me, that's as miraculous as seeing someone's arm grow out, or, the blind seeing.
Yes.
Somebody with a backstory like the ones we hear.
Yes.
Being truly healed, whole, and happy.
Wow. And they're not carrying unforgiveness. You teach them that.
Yeah.
And, it's all miraculous. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Caroline.
I love being here with you.
You know how much I love you. And we'll do this many times, hopefully, because there's just too much to talk about.